ITA for telling my stepdaughter, I don't want to watch any fucking kids, and that includes yours. I have never wanted kids. I was forced to watch my younger siblings, 4 of them, until I left at the age of 16. I greatly dislike babysitting and never had my own children. Never have been comfortable around young kids after that. My husband has 3 children. I met and married him when his kids were in their 20s. I am not a mother figure to them at all, just their dad's wife. Overall, I got along well with the 3 adults. The problem started when my Kelly became pregnant. Everyone was excited for the first baby in the family. I made it clear I didn't want to babysit, and when grandkids were around, my husband was to be the main caretaker. My husband agreed. The first 2 years went great. My husband is an awesome grandpa, and I am fine being the relative that brings toys and other fun stuff once in a while. Kelly has been pushing hard for me to take up a more traditional grandma role. Her mill isn't involved. She lives a few states over. Kelly has gotten in her head that I should be doing the babysitting instead of her father. We have talked to her multiple times. My husband is on a work trip and will be back next week. Usually he babysits on Monday, but he informed her that he won't be there, so it was canceled. She stopped over and was dropping her kids off. I asked what she was doing since her dad wasn't here. She told me that I need to step up and babysit. That she doesn't care if her dad isn't here. I am present. I told her no. This went in circles for a bit and got more heated the longer we went. I told her I don't want to watch any fixing kids, and that includes yours. She is pissed. My husband is fine with what I did, but his other children are on his ass. So AITA. NTA and WTF just drops off kids as if they're entitled to babysitting. You need to step up. No, babysitting is a favor and she's not entitled to it. Especially when she has been told no. Your husband needs to have a long conversation with his daughter about her attitude, because the only ones that have to step up are the parents of the children. Anyone else is doing them a favor. His other children are on his ass, yet somehow unwilling to step up themselves. Have firm boundaries, and everyone understood what those were. Glad your husband is on your side. Stepdaughter is outside her mind for thinking that you should be more of a traditional grandma when you aren't a mother figure to her. Moreover, asking someone who has made it clear they will not babysit to babysit is just lunacy. I can't imagine being a parent and willingly leaving my kids with someone who isn't willing to devote time and attention to them. It's not a safe environment, and more to the point, you shouldn't be put in the position of having to care for kids when you're not in the best place to do so. She told me that I need to step up and babysit. That she doesn't care if her dad isn't here. I am present. NTA. Nitrogen monoxide. She doesn't determine or demand what, if anything, you do with your time. It sounds as if you have been fully upfront as to not doing childcare, presumably why your husband does it. She sounds entitled and has a serious failure to recognize boundaries. Those who are upset can step up when your husband is unavailable, or she can find a backup sitter. I would not entertain any further discussion regarding this. NTA force child-free people to babysit your child is not good for child. You made yourself very clear about this. Kelly needs to find second and third babysitter that she can trust. What if she needs a babysitter in an emergency situation when you and your husband don't available? This is not necessarily about who is an asshole or not, as I assume you would prefer to continue having good relations with her in the future. We have talked to her multiple times. Think if you frame it as you did here, essentially I was forced to look after children when I was a child and ran away from home because of it. It is difficult to see how someone can still be pissed. Yes, the Reddit hive mind will tell you they don't have a right to know this, and just your preference to not do it should be enough. And the Reddit hive mind may be philosophically, morally correct. But sometimes in life you need to pick between being ideologically correct and actually getting the result you want. NTA, where is her own mother in this? Her husband, her other in-laws. NTA sounds like you were perfectly clear in expressing your opinion. Kelly just wasn't listening, and she obviously liked the free grandpa babysitting service. Girl needs to update her expectations when grandpa isn't around. NTA, you don't have to babysit if you don't want to. It's not your kid. NTA, I would have told her that if she abandons her kids on my property, I will call they is not entitled to free childcare, not even from your husband. I think he needs to take a break from babysitting to remind her. You've made your position clear. She's lucky her dad will watch her kids. Then out of state, but we were happy if they asked for our kids to visit for a week in the summer. And they were related to them. She has real gall in trying to force you to watch them and your NTA. NTA let husband tell his adult children that this was agreed upon when they married and they are not going to disrespect your wishes on this. Kelly has gotten it into her head that you should babysit, not her dad. What in the 1950s is that all about? NTA. NTA, you made it clear from the beginning that you didn't want to babysit, and you and your husband agreed to ensure that he would be the primary caretaker when the grandkids were around. Your boundaries, and understand that just because you're married to her father doesn't mean you automatically take on a traditional grandma role, especially when you've been upfront about your feelings. Stick to your guns and keep communicating your needs and boundaries firmly. NTA, you were just dad's wife until she had children. Suddenly you became family because she needed a babysitter. AITA, she would not hear no any other way. You all had talked about this and she still brought kids over after your husband canceled. NTA, I'm pretty sure you made your preference abundantly clear. That's not criticism. It's not your fault the daughter chose to ignore and impose. NTA sounds like she thought she could bully you into it and found out. Who even leaves their kids with someone who doesn't want to care for them? That is disrespectful at best and crazy at worst. NTA, I'm also child-free wasn't by choice, but super thankful for it now. I like to interact with kids momentarily, but I will never babysit. It's not my thing. Kids drive me nuts, and my patience runs out. Need a reality check. The perfect nuclear family is rare, and she needs to get it through her thick head that you are not a grandparent. She made her choice to procreate, and you made your choice to be child-free. Both decisions are perfectly fine until she chooses to disregard your wishes and to force her kids on you. She wanted the kids so she can figure out her own childcare. I say this as a mom of young twins. And she's acting very entitled. Agree with the other comment. She can have one of her siblings watch the kids. You've intentionally had your relationship with them be very superficial. This shouldn't even be expected of you. It had the absolute audacity to just show up and try to dump kids off, knowing full well you said you would not do. She should have respected your wishes and never showed up. She put herself in a position to get mad. It is not your responsibility to watch her kids. She should have made other provisions while he was gone. She get over it or she won't. AITA and the next of his kids that gets on his ass over it should volunteer to live too far away. Then they should volunteer to pay for a nanny. They need to leave you both alone over this if they're not going to step up themselves. This is why I'd never marry a man with kids, even if they're adults. I do not want to be adjacent to parenting or grandparenting. In TA, a lot of PPL are making a great point, but I do have to add IDKY Kelly has been pushing this than BC, it's traditional. If I had children and I knew and talked to someone about how they don't want to babysit my kids, then I wouldn't feel safe with them babysitting. How she can insist for you to babysit, but doesn't take the time to think him. There's a reason for that. She doesn't like being around kids, and that's a good enough reason for me. I feel like that's enough to back off and find someone that can actually tolerate children. And those PPL seem like it's her siblings. BC, damn, you said they are on you and your husband's ass about it. Maybe they should be the ones babysitting. Words were harsh, but necessary. You said no and she wasn't getting it. You had to get mean. As long as your husband is on your side, then all is well. It may be worth sitting all the adults down and telling them that you don't want kids, you don't like kids, you don't want to babysit kids, etc. that you will be mean and ugly to them, the adults, if they ever press you on it. There's no stepping up anything. That aside from an emergency, you're not a babysitter, caregiver, etc. No is a complete sentence. You are not the asshole. You stated from the beginning you don't want to watch the kids and you do not need to further explain. You are not beholden to his kids or grandchildren. You were very clear with what you are comfortable with. Clear. Her assuming and bullying you into something is on her. It's not for her to understand why. You said no, not the asshole. She needs to find a daycare. And how Kelly needs to be accountable for her own childcare. She is lucky her father helps, as she is not entitled to his time either. He could also easily tell her he's unavailable. Thanks for watching.